But if you have constantly high levels of cortisol, what's going to happen is your hormones are going to be affected, which will affect your metabolism. Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. Today I'm going to be debunking the myth that weight loss is 80% nutrition and 20% exercise. But before I start, you guys know the drill. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, ding ding ding. And if you don't want to watch the entire video, I will be including timestamps in the description so you guys can skip ahead. Now onto the topic at hand. The myth that weight loss is 80% nutrition and 20% exercise has been floating around for decades now, and while it's not one of the most outrageous claims out there and one of the biggest myths, it is still a myth, and it is an incredible oversimplification of what exactly it takes to lose weight and keep it off over the long period. One of the reasons why this is an incredible oversimplification is because there's more to health and weight loss than just nutrition and exercise. In fact, there are 4 things that you have to keep under control if you want to lose weight and keep it off over the long period of time. That is going to be nutrition, exercise, and the 50% that often gets overlooked is going to be stress management, and then we have our sleep, rest, and our recovery. Each one of those areas is going to be responsible for 25%. So weight loss is going to be 25% nutrition, 25% exercise, 25% stress management, and 25% sleep, rest, and recovery. Now, when it comes to nutrition, weight loss is going to come down to calories in versus calories out. There's really no way around it. If you are in a caloric deficit, you are going to lose weight. If you are in a caloric surplus, you are going to gain weight. And if your calories in versus calories out are equal, you will maintain your weight. Now, when it comes to calories in versus calories out, there are a lot of factors that can determine and impact how many calories we expend, such as hormonal issues and also different types of foods that we consume. In terms of how many calories you need to consume to be in a deficit, it's going to be dependent on a person-to-person basis. But basically, the way it works is that for 3,500 calories, that is roughly going to be equal to 1 pound of fat. So if you are in a caloric deficit of 3,500 calories over the course of a week, that is going to equate to 1 pound of fat loss per week. Now, one of the other things worth noting when it comes to this is you also burn calories during the digestive process. Approximately 10% of your total daily energy expenditure is going to be from the thermic effect of food. That is the calories that you burn through the process of digestion, mastication, and one of the things is every single macronutrient is going to have a different thermic effect. You have proteins, carbohydrates, and fats, and each one of those is going to have a different thermic effect. When you consume protein, roughly 30%, anywhere from 20 to 30%, is going to be burned through the thermic effect of that food. When it comes to carbohydrates, it's going to be roughly 15%, anywhere from 10 to 15% that is going to be burned through the thermic effect of food. And when it comes to fat, only 3%, up to 3% is going to be burned through the thermic effect of food. Now, what exactly does that mean? Let's say you consume 100 calories of protein, 100 calories of carbohydrates, and 100 calories of fat. Well, because 20 to 30% of protein is going to be burned during the thermic effect of food, that means that if you consume 100 calories of protein, what that means is that you are really only getting about 70 to 80 calories that you have for usable energy. The other 20 to 30 calories is burned off through the digestive process and things like mastication. When it comes to carbohydrates, if you consume 100 calories from carbs, what's going to happen is 85% is going to be usable energy for your body, 85 to 90 calories. The other 10 to 15 calories are going to be burned through digestion and mastication. When it comes to fat, pretty much all of it is almost going to be used for energy. 97%, so 97 calories of the fat that you are consuming is going to be usable energy. The other 3 or less percent will be burned through the thermic effect of food and things like mastication. Aside from that, there's going to be other factors when it comes to your nutrition that's going to play a role in how many calories you take in versus go out, and that is going to be your hormones. Certain foods and certain nutrition practices will elicit different hormonal responses, and based off of those hormonal responses, it could lead to adverse reactions from your body. One example is going to be with fasting. A lot of people are really into intermittent fasting. It's not something that's bad, it's not something that's good. It really depends on the person and how exactly they incorporate it. One of the problems with fasting, though, is when you do a fast, especially a prolonged fast, what's going to happen is your body is going to secrete the hormone ghrelin. If you remember from other videos that I've made in the past, ghrelin is your hunger hormone, and it occurs when you are in a state of hunger, which is why when you do something like a prolonged fast, ghrelin is going to be elevated, and ghrelin, it has been linked to poor decision making, and it also contributes to making poor food choices. One of the things with regard to ghrelin is it's going to cause you to crave high calorie dense foods, because When you are in a prolonged fast, your body senses that as a state of famine, which means it wants to conserve energy. And because it's in a state of energy conservation, it's going to crave the most calorie-dense foods because you get your energy from the calories that you take into your body. So your body is going to be pumping full of ghrelin. Ghrelin is going to cause you to crave high calorie dense foods. And if you have ghrelin circulating, it's also going to make it easier for you to make poor food decisions throughout the rest of the day. I remember about 15 or 20 years ago, I was watching this BBC documentary and it had to do with weight loss. And during one of the episodes, what they had done was they took a group of people and they did a functional MRI of their brains. And what they found was the people that had skipped breakfast, there were two groups, people who skipped breakfast and then people who ate a healthy breakfast. The group of people that had skipped breakfast, when they would show them images of things like broccoli, cauliflower, spinach, kale, all these really low calorie dense foods, what happened was the part in their brain that was responsible for decision making did not light up whatsoever. However, when they were shown images of really high calorie dense foods, things like candy, cookies, cakes, all of those really high calorie dense foods, that part of the brain lit up and it caused them to crave those types of foods. However, on the flip side, when you took the people that had eaten breakfast and they ate a healthy breakfast, whenever they were shown broccoli, kale, all of those really low calorie dense foods, their brain did not light up. But when they were also shown those foods like cookies, candy, ice cream, all of those really high calorie dense food, they got the same reaction. So it elicited the exact same response from the high calorie dense foods versus the low calorie dense foods. And another thing that this documentary showed was because ghrelin is linked to poor decision making, when you skip breakfast or when you do a prolonged fast, the chances of you making poor decisions throughout the rest of the day are going to increase exponentially. If you consume a healthy breakfast, it is going to make it much easier for you to make healthy food choices throughout the rest of the day. Whereas if you skip breakfast, it's going to make it much easier for you to crave high calorie dense foods and make poor food choices throughout the rest of the day. Now next, I would like to discuss exercise. When it comes to exercise, yes, exercise is absolutely terrific and it's something that would be worthwhile for you to incorporate if your goal is to lose weight. But a lot of people tend to overemphasize the importance of exercise when it comes to losing weight. When it comes to the total amount of calories that you burn throughout the day, only 5% of your total daily energy expenditure is going to be from exercise. The remaining 95% is going to come from everything else. And the other thing with regard to exercise is you actually burn more calories through NEAT, non-exercise activity thermogenesis, than you do from exercise. Approximately 15% of your total daily energy expenditure is going to come from your NEAT calories. That's going to be things like standing, talking, waving your hands around, brushing your teeth, all those little micro movements that you do throughout the day that are not actual exercise. So, when you think of exercise, exercise is only a tiny amount of the total calories that you are going to burn throughout the day. And because weight loss is calories in versus calories out, focusing solely on exercise and not paying attention to the other three aspects that are going to be discussed in this video is going to be counterproductive to your goal of losing weight. Now, one of the other things with regard to exercise is a lot of people don't know how to exercise properly. A lot of people, they tend to focus on bodybuilding type movements, things like isolation exercises, exercises that don't burn quite as many calories, when if you are trying to lose weight, ideally you would want to perform exercises that are going to burn the most amount of calories. And that is going to be your compound lifts. Compound lifts are multi-joint movements and they recruit more muscle groups and larger muscle groups. So because you're recruiting more muscles and larger muscles, you are going to burn more calories from doing compound lifts as opposed to doing isolation. So doing something like a squat is going to burn way more calories than doing something like a bicep curl. So if your goal is to lose weight, doing compound lifts is going to be preferable over doing isolation exercises. However, you can still incorporate those types of exercises if those exercises are enjoyable to you. If you don't like doing things like squats and deadlifts and all those really good compound lifts, and it's going to cause you to quit the gym because you just don't like those exercises, then do the isolation exercises, because while they won't be quite as effective and efficient as those compound lifts, if it gets you in the gym and it motivates you to go, you're better off doing isolation than just staying at home on the couch and doing nothing at all. But if you do enjoy doing those types of exercises, those will be incredibly beneficial to add into your program, and they would be preferable over isolation exercises because you're recruiting more muscles, and by recruiting more muscles, you're going to be activating more muscle fibers and burning more calories. Another thing with regard to weight loss and exercise is You want to focus on things like strength training and hypertrophy. When it comes to strength training and hypertrophy, the more muscle mass that you can build and the more strength that you can accumulate, the more effective your workouts are going to be, because the stronger you get, the more weight you can lift. And the more weight you can lift, the more calories you burn. Because the amount of mass that you lift is going to dictate how many calories that you burn. So the stronger that you are, the more calories you're going to burn because you will be lifting heavier weights. Another thing with regard to strength training is there's also hypertrophy, and hypertrophy is muscle building. So when you focus on strength training, you're not necessarily going to build muscle. You can increase your relative strength, but if you're focusing more on hypertrophy, that is where you're going to optimize your muscle gains. And when it comes to muscle, muscle does burn calories, but it does not burn as many calories as most people would lead you to believe it does. A lot of people say that 1 pound of muscle is going to burn 50 calories at rest over the course of a day, and I already debunked this myth several weeks ago. Basically, if you have 1 pound of muscle, that 1 pound over the course of a day is going to burn 6 calories at rest. So it's almost 10 times less than what most people will tell you. But it does still burn calories. So if you can build up some muscle, that is going to increase your total daily energy expenditure, which is going to make it easier for you to be in a caloric deficit. And if you are in a caloric deficit, it will make it easier for you to lose weight. Another thing with regard to this part of exercise is when it comes to strength training is primarily going to be to help you build muscle and increase your strength. You can still use it for fat loss, but cardio work, things like running, skipping, all that type of stuff, that is going to be more beneficial when it comes to burning fat. So you want to do weight training to build up your strength and build up muscle, and you want to do cardio to burn fat. Now, if you don't like doing cardio, like me, you don't have to do it. But if you don't do cardio, you are going to have to be more diligent with the amount of calories that you take in throughout the day. For me personally, I haven't really done any cardio in terms of actual cardio. The cardio that I do is in the form of my weight training. So if I do cardio, it's going to be a circuit. But in terms of running on a treadmill, running on a track, riding a bike, all that type of stuff, I haven't really done any of that over the last 16 years. And one of the ways that I am still able to achieve a leaner look and lose weight is because I maintain my calories in versus calories out. And one of the ways that I do that is by doing a lot of strength training and doing a lot of compound lifts. I don't really do too much isolation. 95% of what I do is compound lifting. Maybe once a year I'll toss in some isolation movements during one of my programs, but for me personally, my main objective is increasing my strength, so I do more compound lifts. And by doing those compound lifts, I'm able to stay in a caloric deficit most of the time because I am burning a lot more calories by doing those compound lifts. But if you do enjoy cardiovascular work, then running, skipping, all those types of exercises, those will be really good at helping you to burn fat. Another thing with regard to both strength training and cardiovascular work that a lot of people overlook is the SAID principle. The SAID principle is specific adaptations to impose demand. And basically what that means is if you do a specific exercise, your body is going to get used to that exact exercise. So let's say you are doing chin-ups on a straight bar. If you're always doing chin-ups on a straight bar, as soon as you change the orientation of either the bar, your hand position, it's going to change the effect that it's going to have on your body. So if you do something always on a straight bar, your body will get really good at doing pull-ups or chin-ups on a straight bar. However, if you change the mechanism and let's say instead of a straight bar, you do it on a rings, that's going to be a different adaptation that your body has to get used to. And because it has to get used to that new stimulus, it is going to adapt by one of two ways. It's either going to build muscle or build strength. And once you continue to do that exercise for a long enough period of time, what's going to happen is you will no longer see gains when it comes to either strength or hypertrophy because there's no need for your body to adapt anymore. It already is able to do the stimulus that you are requiring it to do. So that is why you want to change up your workouts frequently as well, and you want to do exercises that are going to challenge you. You don't want to do exercises that are going to put you in your comfort zone because if your body's comfortable, it has no reason to adapt. And if it has no reason to adapt, you have no reason to get better, stronger, faster, all of that stuff. So you want to change up your program and you want to change up the stimulus to continue to see results with your exercise program. Now that we got nutrition and exercise out of the way, I want to get to the two most important things that often get overlooked. Now, I said they're the most important, but really they're equally important, but they get overlooked often. Nutrition and exercise are always harped on, but stress management is never really discussed, or it's not discussed quite to the extent that nutrition and exercise is discussed. And one of the things with regard to stress management is stress is going to play a huge role in the calories in which you expend. One of the reasons is because when you are under stress, that is going to affect your hormones. Cortisol is your body's stress hormone. So when you are under stress, your body is going to secrete the hormone cortisol. And because circulating levels of cortisol are going to be elevated throughout your body, that is also going to negatively impact other hormones like insulin and testosterone. Getting back to cortisol for a little bit, when it comes to cortisol, that again, it is your body's stress hormone, and one thing worth noting when it comes to stress is a lot of people think of stress and they just think of mental stress, but there are a lot of different stressors that your body is going to go throughout a daily period. And one of the things with regard to stress is your body is incapable of differentiating between different types of stressors. It doesn't matter if it's a mental stress, a physical stress, your body is going to react the exact same way, and that is to secrete the hormone cortisol. So let's say you are stressed because you just got out of a bad relationship, or you're stressed because you have bills to pay, or you're stressed because you are doing a workout that is too intense for what you are capable of doing. All of those stressors are going to react the exact same way in your body, and that is for your body to secrete the hormone cortisol. Now, when your body secretes the hormone cortisol, that is going to wreak havoc on your system, especially if it does it at high levels consistently throughout the day. Cortisol, it's a natural hormone, and we need it to function. Without cortisol, we would be dead. So it's not that it's a bad hormone, but having high levels of cortisol circulating in your system throughout the entire day is bad. Ideally, you want high levels in the morning, and then you want it to taper off as the day progresses. But if you have constantly high levels of cortisol, what's going to happen is your hormones are going to be affected, which will affect your metabolism. One of the hormones that's going to be affected is your insulin levels. Insulin is your fat storage hormone. It's one of your main fat storage hormones. And one of the things with regard to high cortisol is it's also going to boost your insulin levels, and that's going to cause you to store body fat. If cortisol is elevated, it is also going to cause you to decrease your testosterone levels. So if you do have issues with high levels of stress, your insulin levels are going to be high, which is going to cause you to store fat, and your testosterone is going to be lower. If your testosterone is lower, it's going to make it a lot harder to build muscle. And because muscle does burn calories at rest, the more muscle you can build throughout the day, the better it's going to be. So if your testosterone is lower and you're not building as much muscle, then your BMR, your basal metabolic rate, is going to be lower as well. And that will make it harder to be in a caloric deficit throughout the day. Some things that you could do to minimize your stress levels would be things like taking up a meditation practice. You could do a hot bath. You can do something that you enjoy. One thing that I recommend to all my clients is dedicate 1 hour every single day to doing something that you enjoy. By doing something that you enjoy for 1 hour every single day, that will help to lower your stress levels, which will minimize your cortisol production throughout the day. And one of the other things is it's just a fun thing for you to do throughout the day. If you know that every single day you have 1 hour that you get to look forward to this thing and do something that you enjoy, it's just going to make your mood better overall. It doesn't matter what it is. If you enjoy playing cards, play cards. If you enjoy watching movies, go to the movie. You want to go to a concert, go to a concert. If you enjoy playing music, pick up an instrument, play that instrument. There are plenty of things that you can do. Just find something that you enjoy and dedicate 1 hour every single day to doing that thing that you enjoy. Lastly, I would like to discuss the importance of sleep, rest, and recovery. This is another one that often gets overlooked, and this is one that almost nobody talks about. When it comes to stress, I've noticed over the last 5 to 10 years that people are slowly starting to talk about stress a little bit more and its role in weight loss, but I don't really see anybody talking about sleep, rest, and recovery. This is, out of the four, the one that gets discussed the absolute least, and it is one of the most important because when you have poor sleep patterns, it is going to increase your cortisol, which, if you remember from 2 seconds ago, cortisol is your stress hormone. And aside from increasing your cortisol levels, it's also going to increase your body's production of the hormone ghrelin, your hunger hormone. If you remember from a couple seconds ago, when ghrelin is elevated, it's going to lead to poor decision making, and it's going to cause you to crave high calorie dense foods. So if you're not getting an adequate amount of sleep and you're constantly in a state of sleep deprivation, your cortisol levels are going to be up and your ghrelin is going to be up. And when your ghrelin is elevated, it's going to make it a lot easier for you to make poor food choices throughout the day. So if you want to make better food choices and just better choices overall, you want to make sure you're getting an adequate amount of sleep. Now, what are some of the things that are going to cause you to get a negative sleep? Well, one of the things is being on your phone before bed. Studies have shown that if you are on your phone before bed, even if you are on airplane mode, what's going to happen is for 1 to 2 hours after you get away from your phone, your delta brain waves are going to be suppressed. And your delta brain waves as far as we know right now, those are the most reliable markers of the quality of the sleep that you are getting. So if you are on your phone before bed, your delta brainwaves are going to be lowered, and it's going to make it a lot difficult for you to get a good quality sleep, a nice deep sleep. Another thing that people do is when they are on their phone, that phone is emitting blue light, and blue light is going to throw off your body's production of melatonin. If you are staring at a screen that is emitting blue light, melatonin, which is the hormone that is responsible for you to help you to go to sleep, that is going to be suppressed. So some things that you could do to mitigate that would be use a blue light blocker on your phone or use blue light blocker glasses. I know for myself, I had huge issues with sleep. Out of the four, this was the one that caused me the most issues because my nutrition, exercise, and stress management have all been pretty good, but my sleep has always been terrible. Ever since I was a kid, I used to always go to bed really, really late, and this is something over the last 16 years that I've really had to work on, and I've finally gotten it to a point where I have managed to optimize this one habit. One of the things that I made the mistake of doing was I would always be on my phone before bed, and staring at that bright screen, it would be overstimulation. And because I was overstimulated, I would just stare at the ceiling for 3 hours. It would take me 3 to 4 hours to go to bed every single night. So I ended up getting these blue light blocker glasses. They were called True Dark, and you can find them on Amazon. But I ended up getting those glasses, and the first 2 weeks that I got those glasses, every single night before I went to bed, I would put those on, I would watch TV and still be on my phone, and I fell asleep on the couch every single day for the first 2 weeks. I would last about 20 minutes after putting those glasses on, and then that's it, I was done for the night. I would have to wake up at about 5, 6 in the morning and then go to bed. So if you do have issues with your sleep, and if you are somebody who enjoys either watching TV or being on your phone before bed, something like blue light blocker glasses or putting a blue light blocker on your phone, an app, would be a great way to help minimize the effects of the blue light and improve your sleep quality. Another thing with regard to your sleep is if you sleep in a cooler environment, that is going to make it easier for you to fall asleep. And as an added bonus, by sleeping in a cooler environment, you are going to increase your body's conversion from white fat into brown fat. You have two types of fat. You have white fat and then you have brown fat. Brown fat, also known as brown adipose tissue or BAT, is going to be the good fat. The white fat is going to be the bad fat, the brown fat is the good fat. And the reason that the brown fat is going to be the good fat is because it has a higher oxygen consumption, and also it is going to generate heat by burning calories. So because brown fat actually does help to burn calories and consumes a little bit more oxygen, the more you can immerse yourself in cold weather, whether that be sleeping in the cold, taking a cold shower, doing an ice bath, all these little things, those will all increase your body's production of brown fat. And by increasing your body's production of brown fat, it is going to improve the number of calories that you burn throughout the day. Because again, brown adipose tissue does burn calories throughout the day in the form of heat generation. So the more brown fat that you have, the more calories you are going to burn throughout the day, and the higher your total daily energy expenditure is going to be. So if you can do things like sleep in a cooler room, that will improve your sleep quality, and it will also help to boost your levels of brown fat. Now, if you are the type of person where you don't like to sleep in the cold and you prefer it a little bit more warm, you don't have to do this. You can do other things though. You can do things like take a cold shower, take a cold bath, do an ice bath, a cryo chamber, things like that. If you don't like the cold at all, you can skip this altogether. As long as you are keeping the other three things in check, and with regard to your sleep, you're doing the most things possible to improve your sleep, you can skip the cold. You don't have to do that, but it would be beneficial and it would help you to burn more calories throughout the day. But that's pretty much it. Those are the four things that you need to focus on. It's more than just 80% nutrition, 20% exercise. It's 25% nutrition, 25% exercise, 25% stress management, and 25% sleep, rest, and recovery. So if you can manage those four things and get those four things under control, it will make it a lot easier for you to lose weight and keep it off for life. That's pretty much it for today's video. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to smash that like button so I don't make more of these types of videos in the future. And if you're either new to the channel or haven't subscribed yet, be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell, as I will be uploading new videos every single day. That's it for today's video. Thanks for tuning in, and I will see you again tomorrow.